Hello and welcome to episode 92 of Mission Industries Ford Falcon 351 project. Now, as you might be able to hear in the background, it's raining and the speed shops are closed. So what I'm going to do in this episode is get the car up on axle stands, get my hard lines somewhat into position, remount my power steering pump and see what I need to do to bridge the gap between the pump and the high pressure line. Right, the pump is in, belts reinstalled, I've got the fan belt back on, power steering belt mounted up, and the power steering pump adjusted out to where it will be when the vehicle is operating. Well, the position of this output port is not really going to work with my current high pressure line. What it will give me the option to do is run an adapter out of there and then an AN fitting, probably like a 90-degree swivel AN fitting, and then I can just link two of those 90-degree fittings together, and hopefully there's a female adapter for the 16 by 1.5 thread, and I can just run the hard line or the high pressure line along here next to the headers. That will give me my solution. I reckon that's going to be pretty viable. So the lines have to go up here, past the headers and up next to the strut towers. It's just this side here. There's not much room to work with, so I'll get the line and I'll feed it up under there and just see what happens. And with that, the high pressure hard line is mocked into position with these not permanent zip ties, and it's time to see how things look up on the top side. There's where the hard line comes out on the current manual steering rack, and I do believe we can work with that. So everything looks fine for clearance on the driver's side. That hard line is hugging the outside of the engine bay and coming up the outside of the steering box, so no issues of clearance on this side. What I might have dramas with though is clearance on the passenger side, given that this is a 6-cylinder power steering line. So let's check out the other side and see how we look there. Here we are on the passenger side. Now that line there, I would prefer it to be further away from the headers. We'll see what we can get away with. Maybe I could just plumb a 90 into this and we could just push that up into there like that. An adapter with a 90. That would keep the hose out of the way of the exhaust system. You can just push that in there like that. Somehow. Winner chicken dinner, because if I go 290s side by side, I'm probably going to find myself pushing that hose closer to the headers than I would prefer. If I could push that right back like that, after I do my little maybe that'll be okay. What I think I'm going to do is just buy some speed flow parts and see what works and what doesn't. Well, it's another day in my power steering conversion series, and today I'm off to the power steering shop to see if I can get my 3/8, what's the word I'm looking for, low pressure line modified to go around the head on my Cleveland engine so I can hook up a rubber hose to it. I've got about 45 millimeters of clearance to play with between the back of this pump body and the cylinder head of my car, so this hose pipe needs to go around like that with sufficient clearance to clear the head. Then I'll be golden. Now, what I need to do is take it to the shop and convince them that that's a viable option. Well, here I am at Slacks Creek, and the best course forward has been determined, and the pump's being rebuilt, and while the canister is off the pump, the power steering hose placed just next door is going to weld on a fitting that will get me what I want. So there we go, pump rebuilt, And while I'm fitting. Great news! I am back from the power steering shop and I have my rebuilt pump with my modified low pressure input line. The whole thing has been reconditioned, painted up and modified to suit my application, and all at a very good price, and so I'm pretty pleased with that. And on the way home I stopped off at Race Car Engineering and they had all the Aeroflow fittings I will need to get my high pressure line modified to suit my existing pump option. So what we're going to do now is we're going to mock it all up, put all these Aeroflow fittings together and see if my hypothesis plays out. There are my 4 Aeroflow pieces all mocked up. Obviously that will go into there like that. This is currently full of power steering fluid, so I don't really want to crack it open just yet. Well, my high pressure line connects up, but there's not really a lot in it between my fittings and the extractors, and with an air gap of less than 1 inch for the rubber hose and literally millimeters between the fitting and the exhaust manifold gaskets, I'm not in love with this setup at all. At this stage, if I take one of the 90-degree elbows out and just feed the pipe straight down there, sitting inconveniently behind the filter, it's certainly away from the headers, but again, I'm just not thrilled. I'm not thrilled about how this is all sitting. So I've had to think about this hardline conundrum, and what I think I'm going to do is pull that high pressure hardline out, take it to a hose place and put a couple of radiuses in the hardline that connects to the pump, so I can push the hose down low below the headers, and I'll draw a diagram. That'll make more sense. But once I get that done, I should be able to get the hose nice and low below the headers, above the oil filter, and get it to connect up to the back of the pump without having any interference with the head. Because obviously stacking a whole bunch of AN fittings and adapters has not done me any favours as far as clearances are concerned. So if I get a piece of steel hose radiused in a kind of an S shape, that should get me a step closer to getting this done. And with that, that's the summary for episode 92 of Missile Industries Ford Falcon Power Steering Saga. And it's raining.